Brothers and sisters, we stand at a moment when the winds of history are shifting, when nations rise, alliances break, and the world holds its breath for what comes next. This is not just about politics or power, it is about destiny, about a battle for truth, justice, and the future of generations yet unborn. In the silence of these trials, a voice calls us to stand firm, to see beyond the fear, and to walk with courage through the storm. Tonight, open your hearts, sharpen your minds, and let us journey together into the fire of this unfolding hour. When sanctions are imposed, they rarely stand as isolated actions. They ripple across the world stage, shifting the balance of power in unexpected ways. America's decision to sanction India is more than a matter of economics or punishment. It's a statement that changes the very landscape of international alliances. For decades, the United States and India have built bridges of cooperation through trade, defense, and shared democratic values. But sanctions strike at the heart of trust, and trust is the foundation of any alliance. In the global arena, nations act not only as independent powers but also as players in larger networks. When one door begins to close, another often opens. Sanctions could push India to reevaluate its foreign policy priorities, leaning more heavily on partnerships with nations that oppose or challenge American influence. This could mean closer collaboration with Russia, deeper engagement with China, or stronger ties with regional powers seeking independence from Western dominance. Such shifts alter the global balance. Once stable partnerships begin to wobble and new blocks of power take shape, what was once a straightforward alignment of democracies may now fragment into competing camps, each vying for influence. It is not simply about punishment, it's about repositioning. America's move may strengthen its stance in the short term, but it risks pushing India into the embrace of those eager to build a multipolar world. The alliances that emerge from this shift will define not only the trajectory of India's future, but also the broader direction of world politics in an era increasingly marked by rivalry, suspicion, and the shadows of a new Cold War. When sanctions fall upon a nation, the first tremors are felt in its economy. America's decision to impose restrictions on India strikes directly at the flow of trade, investment, and technology transfer. India, a country with one of the fastest growing economies in the world, has built much of its momentum through access to global markets and partnerships with leading nations. Sanctions disrupt this rhythm, slowing progress and creating uncertainty for industries that rely on imports, exports, and international capital. The technology sector could be among the hardest hit. Restrictions on advanced components, software, or equipment would slow innovation, limit growth, and delay projects critical to India's digital and defense ambitions. Energy imports could also become more complicated, driving up costs for businesses and households alike. Inflation may begin to rise, making everyday life more difficult for ordinary citizens, even though the political decisions were made far above their reach. But sanctions also have another side. They often push nations inward, igniting a drive for self-reliance. India, with its vast resources and skilled population, could turn this moment of economic strain into an opportunity to build domestic industries, invest in alternative energy, and reduce dependency on external players. Local businesses may rise to fill the gaps, and new trade corridors with non-Western nations could open. Still, the short-term pain would be undeniable. Job markets could tighten, investment confidence could waver, and companies tied to American or Western supply chains might struggle to adapt. Every sanction is more than a political tool, it is an economic storm. For India, this storm could shake the pillars of growth, testing whether the nation's foundation is strong enough to withstand the pressure, or whether it will be forced to carve out a new path in the world economy. Sanctions are never just about economics. They are instruments of power in the great chessboard of global politics. When America imposes sanctions on India, it is signaling more than disapproval of a policy or an action. It is asserting dominance, sending a message to the world that it holds the leverage to punish and pressure those who step out of line. This transforms the situation from a bilateral disagreement into a geopolitical power play with far-reaching implications. In the backdrop of this move, the concept of a new Cold War begins to take shape. Just as the old Cold War was defined by rivalry between superpowers, The new one is built around influence in regions that shape the future: Asia, the Pacific, the Middle East, and beyond. India is not a minor player. It is a rising power with a massive population, a growing economy, and strategic geography that makes it vital to the balance of power. By sanctioning India, America risks pushing it further into the camp of rivals like Russia and China, who are eager to expand their influence and challenge Western dominance. This power play is not only about territory or military might. It is about controlling the flow of resources, shaping international norms, and defining which nations lead in technology, defense, and diplomacy. India, caught in the middle, becomes both a target and a prize. For America, the sanctions are a move to enforce loyalty. For others, it is an opportunity to welcome India into their fold. The struggle for influence is intensifying, and every action creates ripples that extend far beyond borders. This is not simply one nation punishing another. It is a contest over who will write the next chapter of global order and who will command the respect of emerging powers. When a nation is struck by sanctions, it is forced to make choices that can redefine its destiny. For India, America's decision to impose restrictions will not be received as a passive blow, but as a challenge demanding a strategic response. India has always prided itself on maintaining independence in its foreign policy, refusing to be tied down by any single power. Faced with sanctions, this independence will likely evolve into a more assertive form of realignment. One path India may take is strengthening its ties with Russia. The long-standing defense relationship between the two nations provides a natural foundation for deeper cooperation, from energy deals to weapons technology. Sanctions could accelerate this bond, giving Russia an even greater role in India's military and energy sectors. Another option is greater collaboration with China. Though historic tensions exist between the two neighbors, strategic necessity often overrides rivalry. Economic partnerships, trade routes, and shared interests in countering Western dominance could bring them closer than many might expect. At the same time, India may also turn toward regional alliances, building stronger relationships with countries in South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. By diversifying its partnerships, India can reduce reliance on the West and build a network that secures both resources and influence. Domestically, sanctions could ignite a push for self-sufficiency in critical sectors such as technology, defense production, and energy. The response will not be about survival alone. It will be about repositioning India on the world stage. Every choice made in the aftermath of sanctions carries the potential to tilt global alignments. India's moves will determine whether it emerges weakened under pressure or stronger, backed by a new set of partners ready to challenge the established order. Whenever sanctions are announced, they are spoken of in terms of governments, strategies, and policies. But the weight of those decisions is not carried by leaders alone. It is carried by ordinary people. In India, the ripple effect of American sanctions would find its way into the homes, markets, and lives of millions. Prices of goods could rise as imports become harder to secure and more expensive. Everyday essentials like fuel, medicine, and technology could feel the pressure first, creating strain in households that are already balancing tight budgets. Jobs are another area where the impact could be deeply felt. Industries tied to international trade, technology, or foreign investment might slow hiring or even cut back, leaving workers uncertain about their futures. For small businesses, the challenge could be survival itself, as access to foreign components or global customers becomes restricted. This uncertainty often creates an atmosphere of anxiety, where people begin to question not just their economic stability, but their nation's trajectory. Beyond the material struggles, there is also an emotional impact. Sanctions are often perceived as an insult to national pride, and ordinary citizens can feel a sense of injustice, even if they played no role in the policies that triggered the restrictions. This frustration may lead to greater unity at home, as people rally around their country in defiance of outside pressure. But at the same time, the personal sacrifices required during sanctions can test resilience and patience. especially for the middle and lower classes who feel the burden most sharply. In the end, while sanctions are designed as political tools to bend governments, their sharpest edge is often felt at the ground level, by workers, families, and communities whose daily lives are disrupted in ways the world rarely sees on headlines. At the heart of sanctions lies more than just punishment. It is about shaping narratives, about deciding whose vision of the future will lead the world. America's sanctions on India are not only about trade or defense, they are part of a larger contest for influence. This is a battle not fought solely with armies or weapons, but with ideas, alliances, and the power to inspire loyalty across nations. In today's interconnected world, influence is as valuable as territory, and winning hearts and minds often carries more weight than military victories. For America, sanctions are a way to remind others of its authority, to signal that cooperation comes with conditions, but influence does not operate in a vacuum. Rivals like Russia and China are waiting in the wings, offering alternatives that challenge Western norms. They speak of multipolarity, sovereignty, and independence from Western dominance, messages that resonate with nations tired of being told what to do. In this climate, India becomes a pivotal stage where competing ideologies collide. The battle of influence also plays out in technology, media, and culture. Whoever controls digital infrastructure, trade corridors, and communication platforms holds the ability to shape perceptions and values. Sanctions risk alienating India, pushing it toward alternative systems that rival American influence. In universities, media houses, and diplomatic halls, the narrative shifts. Is India a partner of the West, or a leader in a new coalition beyond it? This is why sanctions go deeper than economics. They are about framing the global order itself, deciding whether it remains dominated by one superpower or shared among many. Each move, each policy, is a move on the board, and nations like India are not mere pieces. They are becoming players in this struggle for global influence. Sanctions are often crafted as precise tools, designed to weaken an opponent's position and force compliance. Yet history shows that they rarely unfold exactly as planned. When America places sanctions on India, the intended outcome may be pressure, but the unintended consequences could be far more complex, reshaping the global stage in ways few anticipate. Instead of isolating India, sanctions might ignite a surge of national unity, strengthening the resolve of its people to stand firm against external interference. What was meant to weaken could, paradoxically, harden. Another consequence lies in economic adaptation. Restrictions can drive innovation, forcing a nation to develop industries and technologies it once relied on others to supply. India, with its vast talent pool and entrepreneurial spirit, could use sanctions as fuel for self-reliance, accelerating programs in defense production, renewable energy, and digital infrastructure. What begins as an obstacle may transform into a catalyst for growth. Globally, sanctions may also redraw alliances in ways America did not intend. By pushing India away, they could open doors for rivals eager to expand their influence. Russia, China, and regional powers may welcome India more closely, creating networks that challenge Western dominance. Rather than isolating a nation, sanctions often drive it into the arms of new partners, building alternative systems of trade, finance, and diplomacy. There is also the risk of global economic fallout. As a major market and a rising power, India's disruption would affect supply chains, trade flows, and investment worldwide. Nations allied with America may feel the secondary effects, sparking resentment or resistance. What begins as a tactical move can spiral into broader instability, with consequences stretching far beyond the original target. The chain reaction of sanctions is rarely contained. It often reshapes the entire game. The sanctions placed on India mark not just an economic move, but the spark of a new era. An era where alliances shift, powers collide, and ordinary people bear the weight of decisions made far above them. Yet within this storm lies resilience, the will of nations to adapt, to rise, and to carve out their own destiny. The story of this new Cold War is not yet written, but it is certain that India's response will shape the world to come. Thank you for standing with us, for listening with open hearts. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and may fortune guide your path ahead.